Welcome to another episode of Money 911, where we deep dive into transforming your financial beliefs and practices. I'm Kris Miller, and today I'm honored to be joined by Dr. David Gruder, an authority in the spiritual psychology of wealth and financial well-being. Together, we'll uncover unconventional insights and empower you to rethink your approach to money, unlocking new dimensions of prosperity and abundance. Prepare for an episode that promises to challenge and elevate your financial mindset. All right, Dr. David, it's such a pleasure to have you here today.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be with you. I'm so glad about this. I've been looking forward to it, Kris.
Me too. Well, you have such a wealth of wisdom that really fits with the conversation that I've been having for decades because, healthy money, so much of it is mindset. And, because I've done this 35 years, around year 25, I realized, I am coaching people more on their mindset than filling out applications. So we've really deep dive into legacy shifters and other programs that we'll share later. Well, I just wanted to jump right in on transformational mastery, right? Let's just get right to the point. Why, how mastering the spiritual psychology of multiple dimensional wealth to transform the way that we approach our finances. Sounds like a lot of big words, but they all make sense, right?
Mm-hmm. They sure do. And, you started off by talking about multidimensional wealth, which I think ties in with one of the misnomers that people have, because people think that money creates wealth, right? But it's actually wealth that creates money.
That's right.
In that we all have our own forms of wealth, our own areas of passion and calling and expertise and things that we bring to the world, some of which, or portions of which, we might monetize. We might actually get paid to provide. And so the whole notion of multidimensional wealth is that we've got a lot of different forms of wealth, and financial is only one of those.
That's so true. And I find I have, it's naturally happens too, probably at this time in my life where my money is heart connections. So when I meet someone like you, where you just meet someone and you feel like you've known them, for centuries, that's the money. Those good feelings are the money we take. That's the money, or that's the blessing. And, I really look at money as an energy. Right. And so, Dr. David, some people describe money not as an object, just what you're talking about, like it's a form of an energy and how we can disrupt that energy, we can make it expand. So the emotional currency, right? This, we could just do a whole show just on that. But what role does emotional intelligence play in financial decision making? And how do we cultivate emotional literacy to enhance our financial well-being?
I love your question, and I think it probably is best to unpack it piece by piece, ingredient by ingredient. So starting off, I think it's valuable for people to have an understanding of what money actually is, because, what most of us learn in 10th grade economics class or social studies class is that money is a medium of exchange, which falls into a category that I'm fond of calling true but not useful. It's actually much more along the lines of what you were just talking about, having to do with energy. All that money is portions of my life energy or your life energy in a converted form, in a symbolic form. Right. No more, no less.
Right. Exactly. And it really is an intersection of wealth and well-being. And that's what I've seen just energetically inside of me, just waking up in gratitude, how it sets the energy for the day. I imagine I'm I'm expecting miracles. I'm always expecting miracles, and they show up. Things that I've never even imagined will show up. And it really is, there's an intersection. I say healthy money, and it isn't that money is going to give you the happy life, but having it all, the money part of it, place where it's safe, where you don't lose your money in the stock market and things like that, it gives you a peace of mind. So holistic wealth is an integration of that mindfulness and meditation or financial routine, like saving money, enhancing our over sense of wealth and well-being, right?
Hmm. Well, yes. And I think what you were referring to initially was about a form of wealth that is often not referred to with the word wealth, but it's imagination wealth.
Mm.
And you bring a wealth of your imagination to every day of your life,
Right.
right? And that wealth is our capacity to be effective with attracting what we intend. So that's energy right there. And then, of course, that by itself is really important, and it's not sufficient by itself, because then we have certain habits, practices, decisions that we make about what we do with the portions of our life energy that we've converted into money. And then how do we manage wealth? In fact, what do we even define as wealth? Is wealth some abstract idea, or do we have a clear sense of what our version of enoughness is? What's our ideal calendar, lifestyle, and legacy? And so there's that, and then of course the holistic wealth piece, I think, has to do with a kind of polarization in our society where and thank goodness there are some people that haven't fallen into either side of this polarization. But as a broad brushstroke, there are a lot of people who think that in order to become wealthy, or in order to become comfortable even financially, you have to be willing to sacrifice personal integrity and values and personal well-being and cherished relationships. And then the other polarization group is the people who believe that in order to preserve their integrity and values and personal well-being and cherished relationships, they have to sacrifice wealth or financial well-being. And both of those attitudes about wealth aren't holistic wealth. They're self-defeating attitudes about wealth or about money.
Right. So that's really the intersection of wealth and well-being, right?
Yes.
And you know, what would you tell the listeners right now? They're like, okay, well, what? Maybe you could, explain the true source of money's value and how it's led to more fulfilling life, and what can the listeners do to dial that in?
Mm, mm, right. Well, let me say that in a couple of different parts. The first is that I view money as the means by which I transmute my unique expressions of the infinite abundance of spirit into worldly form. And then I view money itself as a kind of standardized, symbolic, socially accepted medium of exchange that I use to convert the purpose-driven portions of my life energy that I devote to producing product, services, and access into my ability to make purchases, investments, and donations that are in alignment with my priorities and values that I get to do as a result of having converted portions of my life energy, my expertise, into money that I can then do things with. But I think what's really important is that people understand that money is something that's symbolic. It's a social agreement that we've agreed to. It's totally fictional. It's invented.
Hello. Exactly. Exactly. So what you're doing is breaking the financial stereotypes, right? and and unlearning the financial stereotypes. So, what's the most common financial stereotype that most really damages our growth? And how do we unlearn these? Because they're so habitual, right? We're so programmed into resetting on those. What do you think?
Mm. Well, I think that the most common stereotypes have have to do with the old cliche about money is power, and so basically power corrupts and therefore money corrupts, and so there's that common mythology about wealth means having become corrupted in some way. And aligned with that is a very distorted notion of what capitalism is that makes it toxic to people. So we can unpack either or both of those if you want.
Yeah, both of them,
Sure.
for sure.
Well, the people who have fallen into the trap about money corrupts, they've come to that conclusion not out of their own pure imaginations, but because they've seen certain individuals model screwed up relationships with money where they use money to control, or they're very greedy with the money that they make, or things like that. So people who have these negative stereotypes about money come to those stereotypes honestly, but that doesn't make them any more true than if they had made them up out of their own imaginations. And just because there are people who use money in manipulative ways, that says everything about them and nothing about money. So that's breaking that stereotype up, is
Exactly.
recognizing that. And then, what most people call capitalism these days is one of two things. It's either the sociopathic version of capitalism, where I become wealthy by making you sick, by harming you, or taking advantage of you in some way. And that is not what capitalism is supposed to be, but that is sociopathic capitalism, and it's all too widely practiced, which is why people confuse capitalism with sociopathic capitalism. They think they're one and the same. And then the other thing that capitalism is confused with is actually debtism, which has been practiced for decades now. And I define debtism as borrowing against an uncertain future in order to prop up the illusion of a lifestyle in the present.
Boom. Good one. Yeah.
And if we think that capitalism is sociopathic capitalism or that it's debtism, we know nothing about what capitalism actually is.
Very good definition. I like that. I'll use that, sociopathic capitalism. Yeah, that was good. That really clarifies it. So you really are unlocking money's true value and a value with purpose beyond its role as a currency.
Yeah.
Right? The deep
And
value. Mm-hmm.
if I could just say
Sure.
what healthy capitalism is,
Yeah.
because I've now said what capitalism isn't, even though that's what a lot of people call capitalism. Healthy capitalism is simply mutually beneficial agreements about life energy exchange.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Mutually beneficial agreements about life energy exchange. I am going to exchange a portion of my life energy that I converted into money in order to purchase a portion of your life energy that you converted into products or services or expertise or something that's of value to me. And the amount that you charge matches the amount that what I can receive from you is worth to me. And it's that mutually beneficial agreement that is the foundation of healthy capitalism.
Beautiful. Well put. Exactly. That this is what I wanted to deep dive into it because the concept of money is so superficial, and it isn't anything of what we've been taught, the foundation of wealth. And and what do you think that fundamentally backs the value of money, and how does this wisdom guide our financial decisions and for better outcomes?
Mm, mm. I'll answer that in a second, but I was chuckling as I was listening to you because I was thinking that the title of this episode really should be Everything You Know About Money is Wrong.
Oh, hey, that's a good one. I was going to call it Unlocking Multidimensional Wealth with Dr. David Gruder.
Well, there we go. Everything you know about money is wrong, unlocking multidimensional wealth.
Right. No, that is good. That must be our next book or something,
I know, right?
or
Yeah.
movie or whatever, or song. No, but it's
Well,
true because, well, also, you go to school, you learn to make money, you get out of school. What do? Go make money. Most people give it to some guy that gambles it, and they have no idea where it is. I mean, I've had thousands, over 6,000 people come in my office and, where's your IRA? And they're like, and they name some big company, and they feel so important because it's in the big company. They don't know where it's at or even what it is. And that, to me, that's what's inspired me to do the financial literacy programs, because it's sad for people, because I don't know what it is, David, but it's got to be like 70% or more end up losing their money before they pass on, either in a nursing home, probate, or the Great Recession. And sometime I'll find that stat, but it's a lot. And that's the inspiration for this show, definitely.
For sure. Now, you were asking about how, what's the basis for money's value?
Yeah, the foundation of wealth, and the value and what backs it, and that wisdom to guide for better financial decisions in the future.
Mm. Well, you know, an indirect measure of self-esteem is how I value the portions of my life energy that I've converted into money. So if I take portions of my life energy that I've converted into money and fritter it away on meaningless possessions, and nothing against possessions, but if I fritter it away on meaningless possessions, then I basically said to myself that my life energy has no worth,
Mm,
right?
right.
If I take portions of my life energy that I've converted into money and I invest it in high risk, get quick schemes and lose my money,
Yeah.
I'm basically telling myself that the value of my life energy that I've converted into money is very low, so my self-esteem is really low. And so there's this whole misnomer about the more money you have, the more self-esteem you have. It's actually the other way around. The more self-esteem you have, the more of a wise steward you will be with your money.
Wow. And that's kind of wrapped into a couple things, because the self-esteem is like the big thing a lot of people talk about, but you started with purposeful purchases and not going for, oh, I need a new purse, or I need a new car, or all these things that are supposed to make you who you are. But this reminded me of a client that I had that felt so bad because they didn't have money. They had lost their money, and that now the world made them feel like they're nothing, and they're brilliant, and they have their own genius, but because they don't have money, they're nothing. And how do you instill that? I mean, it's definitely, you can't instill that in someone. They have to go through a process. How do you wrap around that, or how do you help people get through that lack of self-esteem?
Right. Well, what I cut to the chase around is uncovering with them what their version of a faulty happiness formula is. Because what fuels these kinds of money distresses is is faulty formulas around happiness. So if somebody thinks that the more money they have, the happier they'll be, that's kind of reversed. The happier they are, the more they're likely to draw money to them. And then there are people who really do feel happy, and despite their happiness, they don't draw money to them. And those people tend to be people who have what I refer to, and this does set some people on edge, as money entitlement issues. And what I mean by that in this context is what I have is of so much value, and I have so much happiness and I have so much to bring to the world that I should be exempt from having to take the steps that are necessary to monetize my expertise, to manage the money that I generate through monetizing my expertise. This notion of exemptions that, I'm such a good person that I should be exempt from having to learn how to monetize my expertise. That's money entitlement.
That's good. That's right. That's absolutely right. You are breaking in the financial stereotypes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And unlearning financial stereotypes. So now that you're in there and that entitlement and is just instilled, especially in this country, because we're so blessed that you just expect that. But what's the most the most common financial stereotype that you see that damages growth, and how do people unlearn that? How do you unprogram yourself out of that?
Well, I'll share with you two, one at each polar extreme. The one I alluded to a moment ago, which is that the root cause of greed is a faulty happiness formula based on the belief in excessive consumption. Right? And so when people think they have to generate money in order to have all of the stuff that they've been programmed to believe they need to surround themselves with in order to be happy, they don't know they're under a spell. That's a money spell. That's
Right.
a poverty spell, basically.
Yes. Yes.
And then the other extreme, back in the early 90s, I found I was in a part of my career where there was room that there no longer is for, where I had room to have a psychotherapy practice in addition to my keynotes and training programs and consulting and business consulting that I've done all along. I also had a psychotherapy practice. And in the early 90s, when my practice was still open, I had an inordinate percentage of clients who came to me in massive, massive grief and distress and confusion because they had amassed more money than God. I'm exaggerating here.
Right.
And or more power than God, but their health had gone to hell.
Yeah.
Their kids were no longer talking to them, and their spouse left them, and they're coming in to me saying, I did all the right things. I did the things I thought I was supposed to do in order to live the American dream, and look at what I have to show for it. I have more money than God, and I am an empty soul with no purpose, with no love, and with no health. Well, that's nuts. That's a nuts version of money.
It is. It is. And I mean, I don't know how many times I've talked to millionaires that have told me that, but confidentially, I have everything, right? But then the emptiness inside.
Yes.
That.
And I do work to this day. I don't do psychotherapy anymore, but I do basically, if you had to call it something, you'd call it theracoaching or something. But I work with people who have amassed wealth at a cost to themselves, at a cost to the people that they feel like they love. And now what do they do with the next chapter in their lives? How do they instill a meaning-filled life, and how do they restore their health and well-being, and how do they restore love with the people that they say and believe they care about?
Right. Right. And so it's reconstructing capitalism and greed and putting them, in the right spot with the right point of view about capitalism and healing the greed, right?
Yeah.
It's not, a lot of it is how everybody was brought up, and the Joneses story. Look at what they have, and that's success. And
Yeah.
I mean, we've been fed a lie. So it really is, everything you know about money is not true.
Right. And that lie has, well, it's been around for a long, long time, but it
Yes.
really congealed. It took a very, very specific form in the 1950s.
Right.
When this new version, the then new version of the American dream was hatched, which had everything to do with excessive consumption and nothing to do with the original American dream,
Right.
which didn't have to do with wealth. Not that it was against wealth, but the original American dream was about the pursuit of happiness through self-sovereignty, personal freedom, and collective societal well-being.
Right. Right. Where have we gone?
Well, it was completely bastardized in the 1950s, and even that emerged. A lot of people don't know that 1950s delusion of the American dream emerged because of largely good reasons. I mean, there were some sinister stuff going on, but the good the intentions, one of those two, there were two main good intentions, and one of them was that there was a desire after the end of World War II to help build an economy that wasn't dependent on war in order for the economy to grow.
Right.
And what they settled on was that in order for the economy to grow in peacetime, it had to revolve around consumerism, around excessive consumption.
Good point. Yeah.
And so good intention, not wanting to have the economy dependent on war, which unfortunately it still largely is,
Yeah.
but good intention to have economies that grow in peacetime, but then a faulty strategy for how to accomplish that.
Right. So, okay. So it's pretty polarized right now, and it's impacting everything, and we're on the verge of everything. But just for the listeners, what transformative steps or what can we take for unity and understanding at this time?
I think that the biggest step we can take is to set aside the reality, not to ignore it, but to set aside the reality that we have fiat currency now. Like there's no,
Right.
we have currency that's not commodity based.
Yep.
It's meaningless, and we're only exchanging money because we've agreed to do that. It's a huge, big fiction.
Yep.
Well, what I'm saying is, let's not pretend that's not going on, but let's set it aside, because our individual ability to change that is zero, none.
It's 0%.
And let's focus on the part of money that we have complete control over, which is choices about how we apportion our life energy, where portions of our life energy are going to be devoted to converting expertise and brilliance and creativity and purpose that we have into monetary forms in order to be able to accomplish our intended calendar lifestyle and legacy. When we focus on money, the parts of money that we can control having to do with what we do with portions of our life energy that we convert into money, and then what we do with the money that we've converted our life energy into, Those are the things that we have complete control over. That's the stuff to focus on.
Right. Exactly. And I don't know if anybody's paying attention to the future of money and the digital, thing transformation and the cryptos and
Yep.
all the rumors of bye-bye paper money.
Yep.
And it's absolutely useless because there's no gold, and half the planet, the bricks are buying gold. But everybody's so busy they don't even know that's going on. It really shocks me. I gave a class at a University of Life in San Diego the other day, and it just shocks me. The people are just so busy they don't really know the shift is happening on the planet with the health and the wealth.
They're busy and they're stressed.
Busy and stressed. Yes. Busy.
And they have been indoctrinated, most people have been indoctrinated into a state that in my home field of psychology is referred to as learned helplessness.
Good.
Well, there's nothing I can do about it, so why pay attention to it at all?
Boom. Bullseye. That's good. So, we're just hitting the top of this. We shall return, but there are uncommon risks and rewards. We can have a whole talk on that one. You talk about, radical generosity. What would you like, how would you share with everybody? Because there's so much there inside of that. What are some lesser known potential transformational opportunities people should be aware of? And what is the future of money?
Well, the future of money is secure in that we're always going to need a symbolic translation medium for generating money and spending money, right? Things that we acquire through money. We're always going to need a symbolic medium of exchange. So money is not going to disappear. What money is, as you said, very much in the midst of changing. For example, there are more and more merchants, restaurants, and other kinds of merchants who won't even do cash anymore.
Right.
Right. If you don't have a credit card, you can't make a purchase.
Yeah.
Right. And of course, there's all kinds of fear around the digitization of money, where people are afraid. Certain people are afraid that that's going to mean that I'm going to be controlled. I'm only going to be able to spend money based on how conforming I am to the powers that be and their expectations. So, social credits system that China tried to install, but which, by the way, was a disaster.
Right.
Didn't work. And so the thing I think to focus on is self-sovereignty.
Mm-hmm.
The thing to focus on is the fact that money is not going to disappear. How money is understood and how it's transferred, all of that's in flux. But money's not going to disappear because we need a common denominator formula for exchanging life energy.
Right.
It's always going to be around in some form.
Right.
So stop worrying about that is what I would say to our audience.
Right.
And what I would say is, instead of worrying about that, because what form it's going to change into is completely out of the control of everyday people like you and me.
Right.
We don't have say-so over that. But again, what we have say-so over is whether we are generating money in an empty way through doing what somebody else expects of us and we hate our work, or whether we're generating money through bringing our passion and our expertise to people who actually want to purchase that passion and expertise. Those are the things that we can take responsibility for. We can take responsibility for working with people like you, Kris, who can help people understand what it takes to manage the money that they've generated so that there's wealth preservation rather than the cycles that you and I have seen people go through where they've made a lot of money and then proceeded to lose a lot of money,
Right.
usually because of a combination of self-esteem issues and faulty understandings about wealth management.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, because I'm really excited about showing people about safe money, but it's not even talked about on the mainstream. It's just but people are paying more attention now. They're kind of waking up. I just wanted to let everybody know that they could reach out to you, and so maybe you could tell them how to do that, to contact you, wanted to talk to you, work with you.
Sure, absolutely. The easiest way to do that is to click a button that's on my main website for getting in touch with me. And my main website is drgruder.com. That's spelled DR, so the abbreviation for doctor, DRGRUDER.com.
Fabulous. This has been such a fun conversation, and I actually thought I was going to make it shorter, but I just don't want to stop. So it's too good. But we will come back. We'll come back again and do more deep dives. And the listeners, feel free to email me. And if you have any other things that you really want to learn about here, you want to deep dive into anything that he's talked about, I'd be real interested just to hear from you on that at Kris, KRIS, at Healthy Money, Happy Life. Make sure to subscribe. David, leave everybody with a little crown jewel. What's your last parting note for everybody here?
Well, I'm going to pull a Mr. Rogers here.
Okay.
Money is your friend. And the only way, and here's the parting jewel, the only way that money gets to be our friend is as a result of owning and embracing the implications of the fact that all that money is portions of our life energy in a converted form.
Beautiful. Put that in the dictionary, please. Dr. David, you are a blessing, and it's been an honor to have this conversation with you.
Well, you're a blessing as well, Kris. It's been an honor back, and I've really enjoyed the playfulness of our back and forth.
Thank you. We'll see you again.
Okay.
That concludes this powerful episode of Money 911. A heartfelt thank you to Dr. David Gruder for sharing his unparalleled wisdom with us today. If this conversation inspired you, please share it, subscribe, and leave us a review. Let's continue to grow and evolve our financial consciousness together. Remember, the journey to true wealth is as much about inner transformation as it is about external success. I'm Kris Miller, and this has been Money 911. Stay transformational and take care. There's so much to learn about healthy money. I hope today's discussion brings you one step closer to securing and protecting your future. So you can get started on the right foot, go to meetwithkrismiller.com and schedule your free financial fitness strategy session. Thank you for listening, and please subscribe to Money 911 so you don't miss our next episode, which includes health, wealth, and peace of mind.